Hi guys, welcome to my channel. My name is ReadingBear and I hope you are ready for some more stories. And today, we'll take a look at some new IDontWorkHereLady content. If you enjoyed my content, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and post some bear emojis in the comment. And now, let's dive right into the stories.
The first story is titled Not My Store, Not My Problem. For the record, I do work for Walmart, and did at the time of the story. My oldest niece goes to college just a couple hours drive from my home. Every so often, I'd make the drive out on my day off to visit with her and make sure she had everything she needed. Her mom covered the rent on her apartment, she walked most everywhere, and most stores she needed were within walking distance. Except the local Walmart. So during a visit, she thought of a few things she needed from the store. No big deal, we head over there. We wander around and gather the supplies she needed, a few school supplies, a movie that had just released, some fabric for her latest cosplay idea, and we're looking over the game case, commenting on some recent releases and mulling a purchase. Enter customer. Customer. Excuse me, I need a game out of here, would you unlock it for me? Me. Sorry, I don't work here, but I see the guy with the keys right over there. It's my day off, I'm not in anything that could remotely be construed as dress code for Walmart, much less a name tag. Customer. No, I recognize you. I know you work here. Please stop being another lazy freak and get me that game. Me. Ma'am, I'm sorry, I don't work here. I can't open any case. Customer. Shut up. Look, I get it. You're lazy, you're flirting with the little twit there, you think you're gonna get in her pants. You work here. It's your job to provide customer service. Me. Ma'am, this is my niece, she attends college here. I don't even live in this town. Please leave a message. Customer. What's your manager's name? I'm going to file a complaint. At this point, I realize I can have a little fun with this, especially as my manager at the time has a love of snarky behavior and a no-nonsense attitude when it comes to customers like this. I give her my manager's name and cell number, knowing he was also off that day. He listens to the complaint, then asks which store she's in, because that doesn't sound like the kind of person he wants working under him. She's confused, but gives the college town name. I hear him laugh over the phone. Loudly. Then he tells her, in no uncertain terms, that I don't work at that store and to leave me alone. He then hangs up before she can get a word in edgewise. Customer. Oh, very funny, getting some friend of yours to cover for you. Now get me that game. At this point, the actual associate comes up and asks which game. She angrily points at it, he unlocks the case and gets a copy out. Customer. At least someone around here can do their damn job. You need to tell your coworker here to stop thinking with his dick. Local associate. Ma'am, he's another customer. He doesn't work here. And please don't use that sort of language in the store. Customer. Another cover story, duck. Local associate. Ma'am, please refrain from swearing in the store. There are children nearby. Customer. Duck you and your whole ducking store and your ducking horny ass ducks WHO won't do their ducking jobs. Duck your ducking crap, I'm going to GameStop. This attracts the attention of the store manager, who comes over to see what the commotion is. Store manager. After listening to a profanity-laden rant about the poor customer service, ma'am, I'm going to have to ask you to leave. You're harassing other customers, pointing at me and my niece, belittling my staff, pointing at the actual electronics guy, and your language is not appreciated in Walmart. The exit is this way. If you do not want to leave of your own accord, I can have the police escort you out. It finally sinks in that I was telling the truth all along. Color drained from her face as she slowly walked away, abandoning the cartload of merchandise she'd already selected. I noticed her again on our way out, just staring blankly into her steering wheel. The next story is titled Shouldn't You Be in School? I'm 26. I work at a restaurant. My shift is from 7 a.m. until 5 p.m. One morning I was cleaning the tables and taking out the rubbish when this rude middle-aged woman came up to me. Excuse me, you're far too young to be working here, why aren't you in school? In her fairness, I do look younger than me age, I am blessed with a baby face. Before I could explain that I was in fact 26 years old and I left high school the better half of a decade ago. She wouldn't let me get a word and she just kept on going and going, saying you're throwing my life away by being a high school dropout and you will end up stupid living on the street. My manager noticed and came over. He said, excuse me, but what is going on? The lady replied, why are you hiring kids who are 13 or 14 years old? I'll call the cops because what you are doing is against the law." My manager was like, "Ma'am, she's in her mid-20s and has been working here for 5 years. If you're just in here to harass my employees, then I suggest you leave or I'll call the cops." I thought that would be the end of it, but no. You know what Karens are like, they never admit they are wrong and can't just let things go. This woman's response was, "It's obvious you'd say that because you want to cover up your own ass." That's when I lost my cool. I got up and went into the staff room area we had out the back. I got my driver's licenses and my ID that had my date of birth. I went back out into the dining area and put my driver's license right up in her face and said, "Don't you dare assume how old I am. You're right, people should go to high school and everyone needs an education, but I already graduated high school 8 years ago." She was shocked and she just left. My manager thought it was funny, so I didn't get in trouble. The next story is titled "Got My whole boss fired." This happened around 5 years ago at a transport company I used to work for. I was a forklift driver at the time and was responsible for loading our interstate trailer that was going to Brisbane from Sydney. I had been doing this for about a year. I hadn't been at this place for long and this place was massive. There were around 9 supervisors on the shift, so I had only worked under 2 supervisors who were pretty cool and would let me do what I was paid to do undisturbed. You see, I happened to be a great forklift driver. I know how to load a ducking trailer, it's what I'm paid to do. Isn't very complicated but not simple. Not everyone can load properly though, poor loading could lead to an accident. It's not complicated, but also not easy. So one day I walk into work, start my shift off like usual, and Mark, my supervisor at the time, finds me and tells me he got shifted to another area and I'll be working under B from now on. Yes, I said B. Everyone hated him so much we all called him B. I'd never worked with B before and it didn't really bother me. I thought maybe he would just leave me to do my job. I get to my trailer after getting my forklift and what do you know, B is standing right next to it. He looks down at his watch, looks up at me and starts shaking his head. "You're 5 minutes late," he calls out to me with an annoyed look on his face. As I was about to explain what happened being stopped by my old supervisor, he cuts me off without a chance to explain and says, "Get off and open your trailer." I tell him, "No, I'm not a strapper, I'm a loader." Now for context I'll explain, my trailer gets extremely busy so I get my own personal strapper who stays with me. I could end up pushing out 15 B doubles by myself a night. So I have to be quick, which means I don't have time to strap my own trailer. This is done to ensure I can focus on staging my freight as well as loading it, since the bay where my pallets are put gets absolutely assaulted every night, so I have to make sure it stays clear. Back to the story. B repeats himself and proceeded to tell me he wasn't going to tell me again. Trying to lighten up the mood, I don't know why I thought it'd be funny, but I said to him, "Oh good, because I really don't want to fight with you about this, I'm glad you understand." He went red, his face lit up as he started cussing at me, calling me a ducking idiot. He then demands I get off and strap my own trailer. I simply smiled and said, "Okay sure boss, but you're sure?" He replied in a fit, "Just ducking, do it," so I did it. I did exactly what he told me to do. When my strapper had shown up, I told him not to worry as I had been told to do it by B. He laughed and said, "Are you sure?" I said that's what I told him, but oh well. I intentionally took my time. It took me almost an hour to open that trailer and strap it. When he came back he'd completely lost it at me. "What the duck are you doing? This trailer should be finished." I smiled at him and said, "It is finished, I just finished strapping it." This sent him over the edge. He started abusing me and wasn't quiet about it. In the middle of him trying to destroy me, I keep saying, "But sir, you said to get off and strap my trailer?" This trailer had no straps on it, so I had to put new ones on. He can see that management are watching us from the control tower. I'm pretty sure they are trying to radio him asking what's going on, why the first trailer isn't out. This set every single delivery to Brisbane for that night over an hour late, and to make matters worse, cost the company buckets of money, paying drivers for the late departure and dropping our interstate rate of delivery dramatically. End of shift, I'm called up to the office with the union rep, managers and B. Manager asks what the duck happened. This hasn't happened in over a year. Why did things go south? B turns to boss and says with a smug look on his face, "Well, this guy seems to think he could take his time strapping his trailer." I couldn't help it. I ducking laughed at him and turned to my union rep and asked if he needed me to stay here, and he says I can go with a huge smile on his face. At this point B is confused, starts asking what we are on about. My manager, who was noticeably pissed at this point, couldn't even wait until I left. He looks at B and literally yells, "How many ducking times did I tell you in the meeting? the interstate loader under no circumstances is to strap his own trailer. You see, this is an agreement set out by the union and company because Brisbane literally gets hammered every night. So because the workload for Brisbane is insane and no one wanted to do it before you get your own person to help strap. It's a sackable offense for a supervisor to force a Brisbane loader to strap his trailer. I gave my rep a high five before he turns to my manager and says, "Well, manager, you know the agreement. Unless you want us to walk, I want him gone. That bastard got what he deserved. He insisted I strap it. So I did it. Smile. I strapped him right out of a ducking job." The next story is titled Guy in Armor? Must be in charge. So a bit of backstory. Back in 2018, when this occurred, I had saved up quite a bit of money from my job as a shift lead in the food service industry. So what did I, a 17M, do with that money? I bought a suit of steel plate armor, helmet and all, something I had always wanted to do since I knew what a knight was. I had bought it primarily to wear at the local Renaissance festival, but took every opportunity to put it on that I could. And this wasn't some thin, ceremonial or LARP stuff. It was the real deal. .16 gauge steel, thick leather straps, over 100 pounds altogether. It could stop a sword. At the time, and currently, I stood at 6 feet 5 inches, and weighed a grand total of 140 pounds soaking wet. Not the most intimidating on my own, but with the armor on, I was scary AF. Or so people have told me. Anyways, onto the story. That October, my mom signed my entire family up to volunteer at a nearby hospital's trunk or treat the Saturday before Halloween, a night I had off from work. So I suited up, the rest of my family got into their Renfest costumes, and off we went. When we arrived, we reported to the event director, the real manager, and were assigned our duties. My parents were to hand out candy from the back of their car and keep an eye on the kids walking through, like most of the adults. The youngest of my siblings, 11F, was sent to help oversee some of the games going on inside and around the hospital, and the oldest, 15F, was sent with me. And what was my wondrous task? Glorified traffic cone. My job was to stand at one of the entrances to the portion of the parking lot the event was taking place in and keep cars from driving through. Here to join the trunk or treat? Go around the hospital to the exit side of the lot and someone else will direct you further. Just trying to leave the hospital? Sorry bud, you're going to have to turn around. No exit here. There was another entrance, but other volunteers took care of it, and mine was where the line of trunk or treaters would wait while another group went through. It did make sense to put me there, though. If you didn't notice the glowstick lanyard all volunteers were wearing, you'd definitely notice the hulking 6 feet 5 guy encased in reflective steel standing in your headlights. And if you somehow didn't, I had a much better chance of surviving getting hit. So there I stand for 2.5 hours, directing traffic and taking pictures with a fair few of the kids waiting in line. Most were a bit scared of me, but with some encouragement from their parents and a lift of my helmet's visor to show that I was, indeed, a person under all the metal, they became very excited to meet a real knight. So sometime between 2.5 and 3 hours on duty, I hear a bit of yelling coming from the other parking lot entrance. I didn't think much of it, because there are a lot of people around being loud, especially kids. So I keep on keeping on. Then a moment later, just as I finish another photo op, there's a tap on my pauldron, shoulder armor. I turn, and there stands one of the volunteers from the other entrance, looking a bit exasperated. "Hey, man, sorry to bother you, but can you come with me for a moment? We could use you over here." A little bit confused, wondering if maybe someone needed a bathroom break and needed me to take over or something, I said sure, and followed him back. As we got closer, the shouting got louder, and I started to make some of it out. "Don't care what the duck is going on tonight, I want to leave through here. The other exit goes to such and such road and the construction there is a pain in the ass. Where is your duck manager? I'll make him make you let me through. This is ridiculous. Do you have any?" and blah blah blah. Now I see a car stopped at the second entrance, and a red-faced man in the driver's seat with the window down tearing into the second volunteer traffic cone. As we approached, the guy who grabbed me ran ahead, blocking the man's view of me as I got closer. "All right, man," he said, "here's the manager, like you wanted. About duck time. What, is he a idiot like you too? I swear to God, I'll." At this point, the volunteer who had me follow him stepped aside, and I came forward, right next to the car's window. The jerkwad's mouth dropped, and his face went a few shades lighter as I lumbered to a stop. "What's the problem here?" I asked, finally figuring out what was going on. I also might have made my voice a little deeper than it actually was. The man just stared at me for a couple of seconds, mouth agape. Still not sure which was worse for him, the beast in medieval armor, or the fact he saw his own stupid face reflected in my visor. When he finally found his voice again, he sort of pointed ahead of him and mumbled, I want to leave through here because the traffic is really bad the other way because of the construction. I didn't let him finish and folded my arms, which wasn't exactly easy. Seriously? You do see all the kids running around, right? The big line, the cars, the games? And you still want to drive through here, especially with that mouth of yours? If anyone is a idiot here, it's definitely not me, or these guys. Nope. Don't want to hear it. Stop shouting at my buddies, turn around, and leave the way that isn't full of kids, or I'll have the hospital security come deal with you. I was loving this. I never got to talk to people like this at my actual job. Without a word, he rolled up his window, put the car in reverse, and drove away. Once he was gone, the volunteer who grabbed me high-fived his buddy, then me. Sorry for dragging you into this, man, but I couldn't find the actual manager and this guy was pissed and then I saw you, and I knew you would be perfect. I just laughed, and told him it was no trouble, that it was actually very enjoyable. Then I took a picture with the volunteers, chatted a bit about my costume, then headed back to my post and finished out the night content with my little revenge against all the Richard Craniums in the world. The next story is titled I Don't Work There. So basically I'm a customs officer working in an airport in Ireland and I control passengers in the luggage hall coming into the country. We get a lot of American passengers coming in and they ask a lot of questions, which is normal, and we happily answer them as long as they don't take the piss and ask a million questions each. Today was different. Today I met my first American Karen. It's 6 a.m. I'm tired. Yet to UAVE my coffee. The clocks have gone back an hour, so I've had less sleep than I would like. But I stay professional and courteous as I normally am. That's when I spot her. Chin held high, sunglasses on, hair in a bun. She approaches at a brisk pace. Excuse me, sir. How much alcohol am I allowed to bring into the US from Ireland? Now this might seem like a normal question. And to an extent, it is. However, I don't work for US Customs, nor do I work in the US. So I have no idea, which I try to explain to Karen. Sorry madam, I am not sure. You will have to search online. This is what you can do in Ireland, so I assume you can do so for the US. Oh, she did not like that at all. Excuse me? This is your job. You are supposed to know this stuff. I try, again, to explain that I do not work for US Customs and I do not know that information. This went back and forth for several minutes, and eventually I told Karen that I would not be explaining it to her again and that she would have to leave the luggage hall. How dare you? I want to speak with your manager. At this stage one have lost all patience. I simply could not be arsed anymore. I do however have a plethora of powers that I can use to finish this wonderful conversation. I look her dead in the eye and say, Madam, I have entertained you for long enough. If you cannot understand me, you will not understand anyone here. I am a customs officer. Not customer service. What you are doing is obstructing a customs officer from doing their duties, which is an offense and can lead to your arrest. There's the exit. Good day. Karen, now red-faced and quite visibly frustrated and probably offended, huffs and puffs and finally ducks off. I then went for a much-needed coffee break. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe to the channel and post some bear emojis in the comments.